Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me here today. It's my second visit to the Eden Project, and it's wonderful to be back here. It is such an inspirational setting, and I'm going to be speaking today about a subject I feel incredibly passionate about, and that is corporate social responsibility and the conference you're having today. How we encourage business to be good citizens, to behave well, to play their part in building a stronger society. As I say, it's a subject I feel very passionately about, but don't worry, I'm not about to fight a by-election over it. I'm just going to make that clear before we start. I'd like to pay tribute to Tim Smith. He is one of Britain's greatest social entrepreneurs, and you can see you're sitting in his creation. A few years back, he had an idea. Why not try and recreate different eco-climates, put them all in one place, even though they're found throughout the world, and use that to educate people about the environment. Some thought it was a distant dream. Others thought he was completely mad. But he single-handedly pursued his dream, fought for it, raised funds for it, and then 7 years ago, he finally realized it. And here we are today at the Eden Project, now one of Britain's most popular tourist destinations. And it wasn't conceived in Whitehall or just, thought up by some government minister. This is one man's vision made real. And it just goes to show what can happen when motivated individuals with a passion for making society a better place are given the tools and the ability to realize their ambitions. And that's what I want to talk about today, the power of social innovation. That's the power of society, of communities, individuals, social enterprises, and yes, businesses, to bring about the social change that we need to deliver the good society that we all want. There is nothing more vital. Yes, of course, we face huge economic challenges as a country, but I think everyone here would accept that it's the social challenges, the rising crime, the family breakdown, the declining social mobility, that are even greater. And I want to take some time in my speech today to try and explain how the old way of doing things, the top-down government model, has run its course, and I want to explain how a Conservative government would try and do things differently, of how we instinctively understand that real change, proper change, comes from below, comes from people rather than government. And this has some big consequences, which I'll try and explain. First, though, I want to explain and give an example why we need new answers to the old problems. Britain has social problems that have been around for generations. High crime rates, poor public health, rising family breakdown, to name three. And many of them keep getting worse. Clearly, current policy, the current way of doing things, isn't working. Take education. Yes, there are hundreds of other factors which make teaching kids difficult. So much of what goes on in the classroom has causes way beyond the school gates. But we all know what a good school can do, and we all know what a good school looks like. So why aren't all schools good? It's a simple question, but government after government hasn't been able to answer it, and has always tried to do it by direct government action, rather than, as we suggest, opening up education and allowing new providers and new bodies to come in. The same goes for almost all our social problems, whether it's obesity or crime or pollution. We need new thinking, we need innovation, new solution to old problems, a different way of doing things, and different ways of looking at things. Not always taking the same old view that there's some sort of top-down state solution for every problem. And I think that's what we get at the moment. Crime goes up, so we pass a new law. The NHS needs improving, so we set a top-down target. Poverty seems intractable, so we just chuck money at it. More spending, more state control, more reliance on the levers, if you like, of bureaucratic intervention. It isn't working, and it's time for change. Now, I believe we'll be different, not just because we've learnt from this failure, but because of a different approach, our philosophy. Where Labour may talk about social innovation, they still instinctively trust the state and believe that has the answers. We're the opposite. We're instinctively sceptical of the state, sceptical of bureaucratic systems to deliver progress, and instead trust society. That's why, for instance, we've always been the party of the free market, of individuals being able to make their own choices and shape their own futures. And now more than ever, I would argue that history is on our side. If you look at dynamic change in commerce and in our broader culture, they are helping to make the top-down model history. The internet is transforming people's lives, making their ambitions greater, making their horizons broader. Take the media. Before, politicians and the mainstream media believed that when we talked, people instantly listened. Today, there are 57 million different blogs. That means there are 57 million different newspaper editors. Thank God I haven't got to read all of them. Every minute, 15 new user-generated videos are uploaded onto YouTube. That means 450 new news items during just the time of an evening news bulletin, completely changing the model. We're living at the dawn of what I've called the post-bureaucratic age, an age where true freedom of information makes possible a new world of people power, responsibility, citizenship, choice, and local control. The paradigm of social cooperation in this age is not the central bureaucracy, it's the local network, connected to lots of other networks around the country or even around the world. It's the paradigm, if you like, of one example, which is the two friends who met in an antenatal class and realized that the best source of information about what to expect when they had a baby wasn't books or even doctors, but it was each other and the other mums in the class. They didn't know everything, so they linked up with other mothers online, and that's the story of the phenomenon now known as Mumsnet, which is one of our country's most important online communities. That is innovation. That's what I mean about social change in today's world. But I'm not saying that, there's nothing government can do, that we just sort of stand back and hope this change happens on its own. Of course not. But we have to understand how we can promote social change in this post-bureaucratic age. And there are three principles that capture what I think we need to do. The first principle is in fact an old insight and a pretty instinctive one for a conservative, but I think it's got a lot of relevance in today's world. And it's called going with the grain of human nature. Policy making must always take into account how people actually behave rather than try and create an artificial system for how we would like them to behave. The American academic Robert Cialdini has made a huge contribution to what we know about this. In jargon, he calls it social norms. In plain English, it means recognizing that one of the most important influences on people's behavior is what other people do. We watch them, we copy them. It's not a fantastically difficult insight, but it leads to some really big changes. With the right prompting, or what Sunstein and Richard Thaler in their latest book have called a nudge, we change our behavior